Get your Big East headlines here. The championship starts today. Will Jerry Mack and the Syracuse Orange make the big dance? They are desperate for a win, and they got to do it against Eric Hicks and Cincinnati. Check it out right here, right now.
The best got better when the Big East got bigger. Let's go. More territory covered, more talent in the pool, more lessons to learn. With the nation's elite, they gather here to separate, to step up, to shine through. In the heart of this city, they'll fight for their space, so you'll remember who they are. They want to write it on the wall, pound it out on their chest. In the bigger Big East, we're the best. This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, 100% reason to remember the name. Welcome everyone to New York City and the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden, for the 24th consecutive year home to the Big East Championship. Over the next 4 days and nights, 11 games will be contested in a tournament featuring the best conference in the nation this season. The entire session sold out. It's championship week presented by 7-Up, continuing today in New York City. Syracuse and Cincinnati tip off the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. They have identical records of 19 and 11. Cincinnati, the number 8 seed. Syracuse, the 9 seed. Their worst seeding in the 27-year history of this event. Later today, Georgetown takes on Notre Dame. Tonight, Seton Hall and Rutgers, Pittsburgh and Louisville. The top 4 seeds have the day off, and they await today's winners. They'll spring into action tomorrow. Hi, everybody, and welcome to New York City. Sean McDonough along with Jay Billis and Bill Raftery. Delighted to have you with us. Excitement abounds as the Big East Championship gets underway. An important game to get us started for both of these teams. Despite the fact, gentlemen, they have identical records, the consensus seems to be, as we try to project the NCAA tournament field, Cincinnati would be in, Syracuse not in, if you pick today.
I think that's absolutely correct. And although they have identical records, they don't give you the same feel. They are not playing as well as they're capable of playing, that being Syracuse. But I think if Syracuse wins this game today, they make a pretty good case to get in. But if they lose, I think they're out.
Well, in my private audience with the high mayor, he said the schedule is 9 at 43 RPI. If they win today, they've won 2 out of 3, Bubble Boy.
Against
They got an argument against Cincinnati.
Against Cincinnati.
And that is certainly a good point, as Coach Boeheim is known to make throughout his 30 years as head coach at his alma mater. Couple of first-team All-Big East Conference selections in our Star Watch this afternoon.
Well, Jerry McNamara averages about 16 points per game in Big East play, but over his last 2, averaging about 25. He is the heart and soul of his team, but he's going to need some help.
How about Eric Hicks, Jay? What a tough night if you're lining up against him. Speaking of heart, this is a guy that gives you everything, provides a lift on the glass, blocks shots, and you can see the other numbers. Solid performer all year long for the Bearcats.
Let's take a look now at the starting lineups for Syracuse. A front line of Darrell Watkins between Terrence Roberts and Demetrius Nichols. And in the backcourt, McNamara joined by Eric Devendorf, a member of the Big East All-Rookie team announced this week. For Cincinnati, a 3-guard look with James White, Jihad Muhammad, and Devin Downey, also a Big East All-Rookie selection, with Cedric McGowan and Eric Hicks up front. Today's game is available in spectacular high definition on ESPN HD, presented by Dish Network. Now, we have all kinds of cameras all over Madison Square Garden to bring you those beautiful pictures on ESPN HD. The officials are Tim Higgins with Curtis Shaw and Frank Scagliotta. Syracuse in the orange uniform, Cincinnati in white. They played twice during the regular season and split the regular season series, each winning in comfortable fashion on the other team's home court. Hicks will jump against Roberts.
And we're going to know a lot about Syracuse in the first 2 minutes of this game, whether they came to win or they just came to play.
And Sean McDonough, Jay Billis. Coach Boeheim goes 2-3 zone with some man-to-man principles.
Jihad Muhammad misses a three. It's the Syracuse team that's lost 3 in a row as they come to New York. Eric Devendorf hits a deep 2 as he was straddling the line.
And as Jay mentioned, I like the hop and the step of McNamara. He gave it up early. Good sign for the Cuse.
Jim Boeheim in his 30th season as Syracuse head coach, trying to get them to the NCAA tournament for the 25th time. They are the defending Big East tournament champions. Won the event last year. Cedric McGowan on the sideline as he accepted that pass for Coach Andy Kennedy. The interim coach has done a tremendous job taking over in August when Bob Huggins parted company with the University of Cincinnati. Lots to deal with for Andy Kennedy, and he has won over a lot of fans and media in the Queen City. There's a campaign on the part of many fans and media members to give him the job full time, but with the great job he's done, he's become a candidate for other positions around the country. Devin Downey, a runner. Eric Hicks swatted by Darrell Watkins, and then a foul as Downey came away with it. He was bumped by Eric Devendorf.
And Sean, you're right. A lot of people interested in him. They've had a solid year here. Come up a little bit empty. At the end of it, Devendorf gets caught up. But Jay, I would think Cincinnati's got to consider him.
Well, they should consider him, and I know they are considering him. But Andy Kennedy's in the driver's seat on, the job issue. He's done a great job. He will get a quality job. I think right now, though, in this game, the question is Syracuse's defense. Are we going to see the Syracuse defense we saw against West Virginia, or are we going to see the defense that we saw against DePaul that lost them the ball game by 40 and let DePaul shoot such an unusually high percentage? And right now, Cincinnati getting some easy opportunities inside.
Oh, nice steal here. Devendorf's got to be tougher. Downey with the pick.
And White, who's great in the open floor, one of the best athletes in the country, and he was bumped on his way to the rim and will shoot 2. Nichols the foul, his first.
And the point
losses 3 in a row coming in at Georgetown, at DePaul by 39 points. That was the stunner. And then at home on Sunday to Villanova by 10 in Jerry McNamara's last game. And the defense has been the biggest problem, as you gentlemen noted.
And anytime 50%, I mean, you're in deep trouble. And on the inbounds pass, they weren't alert. We've seen that all year long. They've been able to take things away from the opponent, but it's been riddled. It's been picked apart, the zone. People are ready for it, and the teams that have an inside and an outside game have been very tough against the zone.
But it's certainly not a good sign to give up a layup off an out-of-bounds play underneath. That was not anything that you can't stop or shouldn't expect to stop. I mean, this game is about toughness. How tough mentally and physically will Syracuse be for 40 minutes?
Oops.
McNamara took the handoff from Roberts, fed Watkins, who dropped it out of bounds.
Should have taken it, I thought, don't you?
Well,
great look.
Especially considering the result. But anytime you drop it off, Watkins has got to be aware of that pass.
10-foot open jumper. I'd put my money on McNamara.
Jihad Muhammad finds a gap. Eric Hicks the offensive rebound, and a held ball with Watkins. And on the arrow, it'll go over to Syracuse, trailing 4-2. Just past 2 minutes played here in the first half at Madison Square Garden.
We mentioned Hart, Sean, in the Star Watch, and Hicks just showed you what he's made of. Gets up quickly and with power.
Well, if it's a toughness contest, Eric Hicks is going to win those just about every time. There's not a tougher player in America.
Already a couple of blocked shots in this game. They're 2 of the best shot-blocking teams in the nation. The winner of this game will play Connecticut tomorrow. They are the best shot-blocking team in the country. Roberts' basket ties the game at 4.
I like McNamara thus far. He's really been looking for people. The fast break and then that give back with the off the dribble.
James White for 3, their leading scorer at 16 points per game. A good 3-point shooter, 36% for the year, despite the fact that in the middle of the year he went through an 0 for 17 drought from 3.
Well, you've really got to attack the top of that zone because McNamara and Devendorf, not great defenders. They're not super quick. You can get some opportunities by moving the ball.
Devendorf and the rebound to Hicks. He seems like a man possessed on the glass at each end. McGowan. Another shot that might have been deflected by Watkins, rebounded by Terrence Roberts, playing near his hometown of Jersey City, New Jersey.
tough shot.
Devendorf, he made it. That's a three.
Well, he figures he can get it off over Downey, but when he double clutch from 18, you generally have some difficulties.
5 already for Devendorf. He averages 12.5 per game. He's been in double figures in each of the last 7.
How easy is that?
I know, the dribble drive, and that's not from the top, it's from the side. And Jim Boeheim not really happy. He's got Gorman coming in. They didn't attack the three-point shooter and the back line defense. Giving up the inbounds layup, that dribble drive.
I mean, how easy is that? Just a little screen into the middle, and then a cut, like a little drive by Jihad Muhammad and a dish off. That was really poorly done.
And Devendorf is counting the house. He's got to be down there and pinch that dribble from the top.
But right before that last sequence, there was just a little screen into the post to get Eric Hicks open. They screened the middle of that zone, and nobody really stepped forward.
Hicks has 4 points. White has 5. They've gone to the monitor. They stopped the action after the Hicks bucket. I think they want to look at Devendorf's shot that was ruled a 3 a moment ago and make sure that it was a 3.
I happened to go inside to the Cincinnati coach's room, and the coach wasn't there, Andy Kennedy. So I looked around.
That was by design.
There was a spray can.
He saw you coming. He was hiding in a locker.
There was a spray can, a hair spray can. So I knew it wasn't for you or him.
I noticed Jay isn't chiming in on that either. That looked like a 2 from that replay angle. It was ruled a 3. I think they might change it and take a point off the board for Syracuse.
He just handled a very difficult situation in such a mature fashion.
Speaking of Andy Kennedy. Let's see. I believe the right foot goes on the line right. Well, it's tough to tell.
No, I don't think so.
It looks behind it.
But it slides a little there after he set his foot. No, they're going to leave it a 3. Wasn't conclusive evidence.
He also walked.
Yeah, he slid that pivot.
Yeah, that's when I think he got his foot on the line, too, when that right foot slid a little bit forward. From here to keep it going if you can, fellas. There. I think his toes are on the line there, but you can't really tell. So they leave it at 3. Scott Matthews, our producer today. John McDonough, our director, and some of the best technicians you'll find across the land. Everybody excited to be here. The expanded Big East Conference this year, 16 teams. The newcomers have added so much to what was already a conference with great players, great history and tradition, and this event has been completely sold out.
Oh, you don't have to.
You don't have to do that.
Goodness.
You don't know the rules.
No lines on the inbounds.
And White capitalizes after the mental miscue by Demetrius Nichols. 7 for James White, the senior from Washington, D.C., who's been in double figures in all but 4 games this season.
That drives you crazy as a coach.
Not knowing the rules. Know how to play, but not know the rules.
McNamara, strong drive. He had White on his hip the entire way, and White will get called for the foul. His first. Timeout. 15:38 to go in the first half. Cincinnati off to a 4-point lead.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of Championship Week is presented by 7-Up. If you want 100% natural lemon and lime flavors, the only way to go is up. And in part by the 200 horsepower Volkswagen GTI Mark V. Make friends with your fast.
Back in New York City, 24th year in a row hosting the Big East Championship. It's the longest run for a conference tournament in one building, Madison Square Garden, where Cincinnati leads 11-7, out rebounding Syracuse 6-2. Here's the resume for the Orange on the bubble. 19-11 overall, and you mentioned the RPI bill and strength of schedule that Jim Boeheim is leaning on. He says, hey, wait a minute, we win today. We've got very similar numbers to Cincinnati in every area, and we will have beaten them 2 out of 3.
Well, he's right. I mean, all the resume points to getting in, except for they've lost 9 of the last 13 games. And now, granted, it's been against quality competition, but I don't think anybody could argue that Syracuse looks like a really good team right now and is the way they're playing worthy of being invited to compete for the national championship. But if they win this game, you know, relative to the teams they're competing with to get in, I think they should get in.
Of course, tomorrow they play Connecticut, which will help their strength of schedule again.
If they win today.
And they also, played those top teams twice, which is a major issue when you screen the resume of all these teams. Cincinnati.
And we should be clear, McNamara's 3, by the way, makes it a 1-point game. Jim Boeheim wasn't trying to make the argument that Cincinnati should not be in.
No.
He believes they should both be in if Syracuse wins today. But he also made the point, we have very similar numbers to Cincinnati. We played Connecticut twice. We played Villanova twice, said Coach Boeheim. They did not. Downey lost it off his foot, then lost it over the sideline.
Boy, they've had trouble with these sidelines as we take a look at the Cincy resume. And Andy, his guys did a great job. This is impressive. Played a lot of good teams all year long. LSU, you see there.
And they've got a lot of quality wins on there. They won at Vanderbilt. That was a big win. They beat Ohio, good mid-major. They beat Dayton, even though they lost to them as well. But that LSU winning at Marquette is a great win. Louisville at Syracuse, West Virginia. I mean, this team has beaten a lot of good teams.
Well, I don't think they have any problem whatsoever.
No, they're in. I mean, if we're talking about Florida State and Texas A&M being in, I think that Cincinnati is already in.
Nice give.
Trying to expand their lead. McNamara, good hustle to swat the ball away from Jihad Muhammad.
Judging by Jerry McNamara early, Sean, he's done some really good things. Great defensive maneuver, the ability to give it up early. Just a magnificent slide by. No foul. Go for it, but don't give it away. But, Jay, getting back to Jerry, he's dribbling, he's driving, he's passing. I think he's out of the gate. He's setting a pretty good tone for this team.
He is.
Josh Wright has come in for Syracuse, as has Louis McCroskey. Neither of these teams particularly deep. Muhammad a miss. Josh Wright the rebound. He's a sophomore from Utica, New York. McCroskey there, and then Watkins the tip in to put the Cuse on top 6 minutes in.
Love big guys that can run the floor. That's one thing Watkins can do. Block shots and get up and down.
Boy, the smaller lineup up, or the more athletic lineup up front, a little bit better in the zone defensively. Now offensively, they're giving up some things. But I'll tell you what, when this defense is active, it's still not great, but it's much better.
Nice cut and pass.
Very nice passing. McGowan to Hicks, but the little baby step is a walk. Well, Jim Boeheim said that's been a big difference this year. The defense not as good. He credits their opponents as well. These Big East teams are talented. They're better at attacking the zone.
Jay alluded to it earlier. The top guys don't keep the ball in front of them, and that's been a major issue.
You got to finish. The Watkins need to finish that.
Josh Wright short with a 3-ball. It leads to a 2-on-1 break. Downey took a look at White, missed the layup, and there's Hicks hustling all the way with the dunk.
Where are the orange shirts? And one guy back, and nobody's sprinting to recover. Little half-court trap.
A 1-2-2.
McCroskey was on the sideline right in front of the Cincinnati bench.
Nice break. Look at the good fake. And then Eric Hicks averaging over 10 rebounds per game in conference play. And this young man goes after it like it's his.
Isn't it amazing how much harder guys run to the rim when it's on offense versus recovering? And I think that's part of that explanation by the Hall of Famer.
White missed a 3. Long rebound to the corner. Josh Wright saved it to Darrell Watkins. McNamara back on the court now. McNamara, tough one-handed runner. He's coming off an emotional final home game. Sunday against Villanova. 65 busloads of fans from his hometown of Scranton, Pennsylvania. Made the trip up to the Dome. Biggest crowd ever on campus for college basketball. More than 33,000. And Jerry performed. He had 29, but his team lost by 10 to Villanova on a very emotional day. The irony of it is, fellas, it might not be his last home game. If they wind up in the NIT, they would be likely to host another home game.
And that'll be a very emotional game the other way. I mean, it's a little bit of a letdown for a team like this. Of course, the 33,000+ in appreciation of his great play. When you left Syracuse, you got a standing ovation. People are glad to see you go.
Hicks missed the first free throw. They adjusted the net. Terrific numbers for Hicks, an all Big East selection. Many believed he could have been the defensive player of the year in the Big East as well. That honor went to Hilton Armstrong of the University of Connecticut. Out of bounds, last touched by the Bearcats, who have Connor Barwin in the game now at forward.
UConn owns that Defensive Player of the Year award.
Josh Boone last year, now Hilton Armstrong.
I think they got 4 in a row.
Hilton Armstrong could have walked away with the Most Improved Player award. That went to Aaron Gray of Pittsburgh, but he had an awful lot of choices for Most Improved.
Darrell Watkins was on the baseline as he took that pass. Sloppy start for each team. Syracuse 7 turnovers and Cincinnati with 5.
You know, you look at this team, Cincinnati, and they've got some good players, but they don't have a lot of depth. They've got some guys that are injured, still some that are hobbled, and you wonder, how did this team win 19 games?
They stuck together, and not many choices, so it's really a tribute to their character, I think.
Watkins, another block shot as he rejected Cedric McGowan. McCroskey, New York City native, turned it over again.
You had McNamara on the wing.
The 3 wouldn't go for Chad Moore, who's come off the bench. He's been a good scorer for them lately. Roberts the miss, but McCroskey hustles to follow, and Syracuse leads by 3.
Well, Syracuse has to do a better job of protecting the ball. That's been a consistent theme with this team all year long. In Big East play, they've got more turnovers than assists, and their opponents have more assists than turnovers. That is not the mark of a successful basketball team.
Muhammad, the runner, he was a bench player at the beginning of the year. Talented 6th man, moved into the starting lineup when Armin Kirkland was injured at the start of the conference season. McNamara responds with a 3. 9 minutes in, Syracuse has a 4-point advantage.
Jay, look at Watkins. He's under the rim, and when they drive, he comes up late. I mean, somebody's got to protect. He's coming up. The guards have to go down and help him if he's going to stay that flat.
And he also needs to lift his arms over his head to be as big as he can be.
Oh, he can run. Oh, he almost got an offensive foul. He threw a bow in there.
Out of bounds, last touch by McNamara. 9 turnovers for Syracuse, but they lead nearly midway through the first half in Midtown Manhattan. First game of the day, first day of the Big East Championship. Here at Madison Square Garden, Syracuse with a 4-point lead. Time for today's ESPNU Pride of the Program segment. Today in the spotlight, Tennessee Tech. On December 6, 1990, Tennessee Tech upset then 15th ranked Southern Mississippi 84-78, marking the biggest upset in school history. The Tech squad was not intimidated by Southern Miss, out-rebounding them 47-40. Guard Van Usher led Tech with 17 points and 11 assists. More Pride of the Programs available on mobile ESPN, and much more Big East Championship coverage presented by Aeropostale. Today on ESPN, right after this ball game, Notre Dame, the very dangerous number 12 seed. I'm not sure there's ever been a better 12 seed in any conference championship anywhere. Takes on Georgetown, the 5 seed. And tonight, the battle of New Jersey, Seton Hall and Rutgers, followed by Pittsburgh and Louisville, as Rick Pitino returns again to the Garden. All today and tonight on ESPN.
You mentioned the turnover, Sean. A lot of I'm familiar with the lines on the floor. I think we've had 4 guys stepping out of bounds.
Syracuse with the lead, thanks largely to that 3-point shooting. Out of bounds, last touch by James White. In the 2 regular season meetings, the determining factor was the rebounding edge. Syracuse won at Cincinnati in mid-January, out-rebounded the Bearcats by 24. When Cincinnati won a month later in Syracuse by 17 points, they were plus 19 in rebounding.
And a lot of times that rebounding advantage comes from playing really good defense. You make your opponents miss. That was awfully easy.
Well, you know what happened, Jay? The penetration, and McNamara was on the wing. They're not rotating back. They don't have good balance.
Tough pass. McNamara trying to rescue it, and he could not. 10 turnovers for Syracuse in just more than 10 minutes, but they lead. Here are the numbers from the regular season meeting. Syracuse, in what Jim Boeheim said was probably their best performance of the year, winning in Cincinnati January 14th. But then the Bearcats, with one of the biggest victories of their season, return the favor in the Carrier Dome.
Rebounding so important in those two games.
Jeez. I mean, this is candy from a baby opportunities right now. Syracuse has blocked a few shots, but that ball is getting into the middle of the zone, whether by penetration or by pass. Way too easy for Syracuse's taste.
And quickly, too. They have to throw it around the perimeter.
Eric Hicks at the line. Did not get the bounce. The foul was on Arinze Onuaku, backup center, 6'9" freshman. Hicks hobbled by 2 sprained ankles. 0 for 3 from the line now. 0 for 4.
Really, the only thing he doesn't do well, he shoots about 67% in Big East games.
They got the hole on the baseline. Some nights it's the only thing you can do with McNamara. You know, watching the three-quarter court trap here, you know Syracuse walked through it, prepared for it, and it still works. I mean, guys aren't in the right spot, even if you've told them and ordered them, and the response has got to be there.
Well, you got to present yourself as a receiver. You can't just stand behind a defender.
Strong drive, but the shot off by Louis McCroskey. Played his high school ball here in the New York City area at St. Raymond's.
Nice screen by Hicks.
Devin Downey gets the bounce. He's had an up and down year from start to finish.
And that's really, Bill, where you need to step up off that screen. The middleman has got to step up and stop that penetration.
Roberts fouled. He'll go to the line where he usually struggles. 19 apiece. 8:51 left first half in the first of 4 games today. Day 1 of the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. Very important game for Syracuse and Cincinnati with an eye toward the NCAA tournament. Sean McDonough, Jay Billis, Bill Raftery, delighted to be with you this afternoon. Our friends and colleagues Dan Schulman, Len Elmore will have the action for you tonight.
A very tough city to work in, though. I feel like I age when I'm in this town.
You know you don't sleep when you're in this town. Remarkable stamina to come right from last night's social function at Madison Square Garden for
It's a marathon.
today's activity. 1 out of 2 at the line for Roberts. Those are the first free throws of the day for the Orange.
Very effective with Hicks picking the last trip. The guards have to close together. Oh, got to see it.
Downey threw it away. Numbers for Syracuse. Nichols for 3.
It's nice when McNamara gives it up early, though. They're a different team, and of course the response with the knockdown, tailor-made.
Well, it all resulted from the turnover. James White had cut through and wasn't looking. Downey threw the ball anyway, but that middle continues to be wide open.
Now here's the screen out. Yeah, it's a better job by Devendorf.
Ronald Allen just into the game, one of their few front court subs, and he traveled. Andy Kennedy has the look of a man who's wondering what's going on with his team. They come in here off an emotional home win against West Virginia over the weekend. Big crowd on hand to watch them earn one of their most important victories of the season, one that looks great on the tournament resume. Bob Huggins, the former coach, was there. Andy Kennedy, when he took the mic, saluted Bob Huggins. Right now he's not saluting his defense. Terrence Roberts able to get to the rim and dunk it, and Syracuse has its largest lead.
And no body on him. Nobody checked.
And they've also got some life. Now a little bounce defensively. And Syracuse playing with the lead, which they have not done a lot in Big East play.
They're the defending champs. Cincinnati playing in their first ever Big East tournament, obviously, in their first year in the conference. They did win the Conference USA tournament title 4 times in the 10-year history of that league, including most recently a championship in 2004. Watkins trying to avoid contact, missed the shot. He saved it for Nichols. Devendorf took a horrible shot, and Hicks tied up by Watkins. It'll be Cincinnati's ball after a timeout.
McNamara not happy. He should have gotten the ball back. You can't take bad shots It's tournament time.
Syracuse shooting well. That has helped them overcome the turnover difficulties here in the first half. The Orange in a must-win situation with an eye toward the NCAA tournament, lead by 6.
Let's go.
It's championship week presented by 7-Up. And it continues tomorrow as the action heads to Indianapolis. It'll be Big Ten tournament action on ESPN2 with 3 games tomorrow beginning at noon. Northwestern and Penn State get them started, followed by Michigan and Minnesota. And then at 4:30 Eastern time, the Michigan State Spartans take on Purdue, all part of championship week presented by 7-Up. Michigan State, a team that could use a good performance at the Big Ten tournament to get them playing well heading into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, they need a nice mental health boost in that tournament, as does Michigan. I think Michigan, with as banged up as they've been, getting a win in the first round, I think very important to their mental health as well. Tommy Amaker's got a very good team, I think, and I think they're in the NCAA tournament as well.
Cedric McGowan found a spot right in the middle of that zone. His first bucket.
Put a lazy boy in there, huh?
And another turnover. The 11th committed by Syracuse. Then it's turned right back over. The 10th by Cincinnati. Watkins count the bucket and a chance for a 3-point play.
Downey trying to get the sleight of hand. Boy, misuse of the ball, the dribble, and the open floor spells doom.
Boy, the turnover for Syracuse wound up being their best offense. They turned it over and immediately stole it back and had an advantage situation on the break, getting it to Watkins, and Watkins finishing a play, a good sign for the big guy. And Downey, if you're going to go after that ball against the big guy, you can't just slap at it. You really got to go after it.
Trap the arms, right?
And Watkins made the free throw. He's just 50% from the line. Syracuse is 64% for the year, but that includes McNamara, who's up near 90%. Jihad Muhammad, and numbers for Syracuse, 5 on 2. This time it's Cincinnati that doesn't get back, and Watkins scores.
Boy, McNamara really running the show. Timeout by Kennedy. The 3-point shot was from the NBA line. You got to know where you are on the floor.
11-2 run for Syracuse. Andy Kennedy and the Cincinnati Bearcats down by 9. 6:16 to go in the first half. And they've played really crisp basketball for much of the season. Not so much today.
Long jump shots sort of ignite fast breaks.
Yeah, because it was a bad shot. And really, a bad shot is the first pass in your opponent's fast break. And now Darryl Watkins has gotten a couple of fast break baskets in large measure because the Cincinnati big guys aren't running.
Syracuse has 12 fast break points. The lead is 9 with 6 minutes to go in the first half. Muhammad to White with Hicks, Downey, and McGowan. There's McGowan on the baseline. Hicks had it blocked again by Watkins. His 4th block shot, and another sends Syracuse off on the break, and Devendorf turns it over. White fouled. Will it count? Yes, it will, says Curtis Shaw.
Boy, some bad decisions. Once again, McNamara wide open on the right wing. They opt for the other way, leading to a turnover and a fast break.
Boy, what a couple of turnarounds. First it was Syracuse with the turnover, then getting it back. These teams can't stand prosperity. Syracuse coming down, having an advantage and coughing it up, and then compounding the foul with allowing White to finish the play.
And they look so spry, Sean. I mean, they look active, Syracuse, and then diffusing the effort with not really a wise decision.
Yeah, unfortunately for them, part of their activity has been turning the ball over with alarming regularity, but that's plagued both teams. 2 fouls now on Devendorf, and McGowan a bit too frisky as he bumped Watkins from behind. 2nd foul on Cedric McGowan, a junior from Miami. First year at UC as a junior college transfer from Kilgore in Texas. McNamara leading the way for Syracuse in points and assists, and McCroskey with 3 boards off the bench. Watkins' shot blocking has also been a story early on. He has 4.
Well, one of the keys for Cincinnati is going to be to get Devin Downey a little more into this game. He has been very quiet. When he plays well, Cincinnati a much better basketball team.
They look like they're going, let's see if they're 2-3 zone right now, maybe, huh?
And another foul as Nichols took it toward the basket. Jay, you're right. Downey has just 2 points. He's had a very up and down season. In the Cincinnati wins this year, he's averaged nearly 15 points per game and 5 assists and shot 46%. And in their losses, 8 points, 29% from the floor and under 3 assists. So as he goes, typically so go the Bearcats.
And he's struggled on the road. He has not played well in true road games, but in the games that they've played on neutral floors, I think he's averaging about 17 points per game. But when he gets into the game early, he winds up playing much better. And right now, I mean, he's gone almost 15 minutes, only 1 bucket. He needs to get things going, and I think his entire team will be buoyed as a result of it.
Connor Barwin called for his first foul for Coach Kennedy. It puts the Bearcats over the limit. Demetrius Nichols made the first. 68% from the line for the junior from Boston, Massachusetts. Played his high school ball at St. Andrew in Rhode Island, where he was the state player of the year.
Really important 5 minutes here for both teams. This is where the game could wind up being won or lost.
Close. Robert should have sprinted. He would have gotten the pass. Good execution on the offensive end.
White to Hicks for the easy score. Syracuse by 6, 5 minutes to go. First half, Eric Hicks has 8 points.
Nice pass.
And the dunk by Roberts off the feed from McCroskey.
Great deployment, too. Handled the trap, sprint to the box. Excellent coordination.
Syracuse needs to pack this in a little bit more. If Cincinnati wants to shoot over the top, I think I might let them, as opposed to getting it into the middle so easy.
That's because Cincinnati really has not been shooting well from outside. And right on cue, James White makes a 3.
But you're right. I agree with you.
But they got it into the middle in order to kick it out to get that shot.
I'll tell you, one problem down he's having is he's had to guard a lot on this end of the floor. Whether it's Ben McNamara or Devendorf, now out there with McCroskey.
They're now 2 for 6 from 3 with that make by White. Started 1 for 5. Nichols a miss. Syracuse a foul in the follow-up action. Just the 6th team foul, so not yet the limit. The next one will result in a shooting opportunity for Cincinnati. Terrence Roberts, the personal, is first. Andy Kennedy, Mississippi native, former high school player of the year before he went on to star in college at Alabama Birmingham, and he has emerged as perhaps the leading candidate for the job at Ole Miss, and boy, would he be a great choice.
Well, he knows the talent level in that state's extraordinary. People come in and cherry pick frequently. Nice spin.
McCroskey scored. Looked like he got bumped as well. 4 off the bench for McCroskey, who came dangerously close to getting thrown off the team in midseason after he had a heated exchange with Coach Boeheim following a game in which McCroskey felt he should have played more. He had to be tackled to be prevented from going after Coach Boeheim physically. White.
You know, it's funny, Sean. A lot of players don't really understand that it's not Jim Boeheim that's determining who plays. It's the players. And Louis McCroskey, when he puts the ball on the floor and plays like an athlete, he's worthy of being in there for extended minutes. If he wants to be a shooter, heck, I'd take him out too.
Nichols the miss after McCroskey set him up nicely. 3 minutes to go in the half. Syracuse by 7.
But
how easy is that?
He didn't close, though. You come out, you got a continual motion.
Hicks the putback after the 3-point miss by White. 10 points for Eric Hicks, the senior from Greensboro, North Carolina. He's had a terrific career, interesting career. Early on, very often sullen from time to time, talking about leaving Cincinnati, but he has emerged as a much more gregarious, likable team player and has become a fan favorite.
He really is a great kid and a heck of a good player. I've got to think there's a place for him in the NBA, as hard as he plays and effective as he is.
He has 6 rebounds to go with his 10 points. Timeout. All right, gentlemen, thank you. I think Cincinnati is going to be in the tournament regardless of what happens today.
But I mean,
they have to take 65 teams. I mean, you know, who are they going to put in if they don't put in Cincinnati?
And I know why Notre Dame's going to make a run. Mike Bray's the coach.
Bob Huggins was the coach at Cincinnati for the previous 3 seasons for the Cincinnati seniors. He was at Senior Day Saturday, emotional as he watched Eric Hicks inspire the Bearcats to victory over West Virginia. James White went over to greet Huggins after the game. As we mentioned earlier, Andy Kennedy, when he grabbed the microphone, saluted Bob Huggins, said, "Hugs, we love you," and the crowd went crazy. Bob Huggins remains very popular in Cincinnati, and so does Eric Hicks.
Tells you a lot about connections, though. You become very fond of your players, and likewise, when you survive, you mentioned some turmoil on and off in the career, they get over that. There's a bond that may exist for the rest of their lives.
Well, I give Andy Kennedy a lot of credit for the way he's handled that situation. I mean, it would be easy for a guy to kind of run away from the Bob Huggins legacy because some people, maybe decision makers, might be a little uncomfortable with it. But that's not who Andy is. I was really impressed by him.
Well, that's exactly right. Jihad Muhammad hits a 3. To me, of all the difficult parts of the task Andy Kennedy inherited here, that was one of them, to be respectful of Bob Huggins and loyal to that friendship, but at the same time respecting his employer, the administration of the University of Cincinnati, the athletic director Mike Thomas, who is relatively new on the job and will select the new coach. You're right, a lot of guys would have thrown Huggins under the bus to politic to get this job on a full-time basis. Andy Kennedy is not that kind of person.
Well, the balance that he has been able to strike is extraordinary.
All over the arena over the weekend, signs to hire Andy Kennedy. I think he's become the people's choice. 13 turnovers for Syracuse now. The tough act to follow, certainly. 14 straight trips to the NCAA and 14 20-win seasons under Bob Huggins during his time as head coach of the Bearcats.
You know, Sean, I'm not so sure how good this job is because of the unknown recruiting, because of the situation there.
I think it's going to be a very tough year next year. They lose some terrific seniors. It's been very hard to recruit because of all the uncertainty in the program. Whoever is the head coach might have a couple of very tough years in a city that's become accustomed to winning.
But overall, I think it is a very good job. It's a good Big East job. They've shown the ability to recruit there. They've got facilities. They've got a chance to be very good in the future. I agree that it may be tough for the next couple of years, but this is a job that a lot of coaches would like to have.
But when you hear, if you look at the numbers for first-time head coaches this year, Rob Jeter going to the tournament with that victory last night. When you hear people in the administration say, well, if Duke does it and Stanford does it, we could do it, I think they're making comparisons that could be dangerous. And if that's the standard by which they're going to operate academically in the future, I don't think they're going to continue to win at the same level.
Yeah, but you've had people making those kind of statements for a long time now. And, you know, I remember laughing when Mike McGee said South Carolina needs to be in the NCAA tournament every year. He'd say nobody in the SEC does that except Kentucky. I mean, that's just unrealistic to say something like that. Great steal by McNamara. How about that?
A 3. And he was by himself. The rest of the Orange out near midcourt or beyond. 11 points for Jerry McNamara. He's determined to play in the NCAA tournament in his last season. And the Cuse back up by 5 in the final seconds of the first half. White looked at Andy Kennedy, waved him toward the bucket. He shot it. The rebound by Roberts, and it's halftime. Syracuse made 5 out of 9 from three-point land in the first half. McNamara made 3 of the 5. And Hicks on his way to a double-double.
Boy, what a huge play by Jerry McNamara to pick this off and knock down the 3 as you would go into halftime. A dagger.
Halftime here at Madison Square Garden. Syracuse leads Cincinnati 39-34. Let's head back to the studio. It's the 7-Up halftime report with Carl and Doug. back at Madison Square Garden getting ready for the second half. The 8-9 game on the first day of the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale at Syracuse with the lead. Sean McDonough, Jay Billis, and Bill Raftery. And Syracuse has that advantage despite the fact that Cincinnati played off and did a good job attacking that famous 2-3 zone.
They did do a good job at times. They weren't able to finish a lot of plays, and they turned the ball over way too much. But when they got it into the middle of the zone, that's where they had success, bringing it down and collapsing the zone. A little pass fake, then getting it into the middle. Once you get it in the middle, that collapses it. You got to go up and guard that, and Terrence Roberts does not get down quick enough, and Cincinnati winds up with an easy look, easy basket.
Of course, the whole story to me is McNamara and his attitude. I think he's been extraordinary, giving the basketball up, solid decision-making, active defensively, and I think Devendorf has to be solid. We know he's got turnovers. I believe you said, Sean, to me, five.
Five turnovers.
I think the key for him is to give it up to the proper guy at the correct time, and that's part of the problem. McNamara is alive. Give it to him.
McNamara 11 points, as you saw, 5 assists, only 2 turnovers, and 3 steals for Jerry Mack in the first half. They go right inside to Terrence Watkins, and he has 9. Eric Devendorf had 5 turnovers in the first half, had 5 points.
Boy, Roberts and Watkins have been pretty active in this ball game. They haven't been great, but they've been pretty darn good between the two of them. They've got 16 points combined.
Well, when those two are solid, either blocking shots or getting doubles, rebounds, and/or points, it's a whole different look.
That's not a good shot with a defender flying right at you.
Jihad Muhammad, an air ball from three-point land as we take a look at the first half stats. Syracuse shot the ball very well, particularly from beyond the arc, and that helped counteract the 13 turnovers. They were also helped by the fact Cincinnati turned it over 12 times themselves.
Of course, whoever has out-rebounded the opponent has won the game, so that's a vital stat for these two teams.
Roberts again. Terrence Roberts has 11. And the lead back up to 9.
This zone has really frustrated Devin Downey. He has not really been able to get any open looks. He can't get anything off the dribble.
James White strong on the drive. He was fouled. This 9-point lead matches the largest for Syracuse.
You know, over the years, the 2-3 zone has made the opponent use some clock. And this year, they've been able to get what they want, quick hitters, flashes, dribble drives against them. And that time they stepped up. Watkins got the foul, but at least some organization behind them.
Well, I think what this zone has always done, in addition to what you said, is make teams settle for the long jump shot. And Jim Boeheim knows the percentages better than anybody. If he makes you take jump shot after jump shot, your percentages are going to go further and further down. But this year, especially in this game, Cincinnati has gotten the ball into the middle of the zone. They haven't capitalized on it, but they have broken this zone down at times.
Don't you think for a long time one of the keys for Syracuse was the length of a lot of the people within the zone? A guy like Hakeem Warwick with those long arms made it so much more difficult to get it in close than the opponents are finding it to be. Now Roberts, whatever orange slices he had at halftime, they might want to give him to the rest of the team as well.
Pass us some, huh? Of course, the length also on the wing, Sean, not
That's
just
it.
underneath. I mean, they've been able to force tougher catches deeper on the floor.
There's
Well,
there's no Josh Pace out there. Guys like that that are very active and pretty good.
Hicks missed a shorty. 2 minutes into the second half. Syracuse leading by 9. What Coach Boeheim believes is a must-win situation to get into the NCAA tournament. McNamara. And it's run down in the corner by Jihad Muhammad. He's had a tough shooting start so far, 2 for 9. McNamara called for a reach-in foul. Might be on Roberts. They were both there. Here's again a look at the Syracuse resume. And he believed with a win today that RPI would go down into the mid to low 30s. And talk about schedule strength. If they won today, they'd play Connecticut tomorrow.
And it's a good point about the RPI, Sean, but I don't really think that number is as meaningful as the number of quality wins that you've piled up. And this would be a quality win for Syracuse, and it would also stem the tide. That 9 losses out of the last 13 games is the hurtful stat there.
Another 3 for Syracuse. Demetrius Nichols has 8 points. on the heels of another miss by Jihad Muhammad from three-point land for the Bearcats, and Andy Kennedy's chatting with him during this Cincinnati timeout. 6 for 11 from three-point distance for Syracuse. The Orange by 12, 17-25 remaining in the second half here at Madison Square Garden. First game of the day here at Madison Square Garden. Syracuse, the 9 seed, with a 12-point lead over the 8 seed Cincinnati. 17:25 to go. Lots more action here today at the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. As soon as we're finished here, about 25 minutes after the conclusion, it'll be Notre Dame and Georgetown, then Rutgers and Seton Hall tonight, and Louisville takes on Pittsburgh at 9 Eastern time. The Irish rallied late in the season, won 5 of the last 7 to grab the final spot in this 12-team tournament. Chris Quinn, the star of the Irish, arriving.
I thought that was an envelope at first. I wondered what the heck. You know, I'm a little nervous for Mike Brett. Digger's gone out on the limb professing that they're going to go all the way here.
Talk about the kiss of death.
He's not a disciple.
Jihad Muhammad tried to hand it off to Eric Hicks. He lost the handle. Boy, Cincinnati flat as a pancake so far. A team that has accomplished so much by grit and determination and hard work. We haven't seen much of that here today. Demetrius Nichols' 3 goes out of bounds. They split the regular season series, and in each game the second half was the determining half, because in the first meeting at Cincinnati the game was tied at the break, but Syracuse dominated the second half and won by 19. In the second meeting at Syracuse, Cincinnati led by 1 at halftime and pulled away in the second half. Right now it's Syracuse with a 7-point advantage in the second half to widen the lead.
I'll tell you, Downey trying to get in the crack. A very tough pass underneath as Muhammad made that cut.
Well, they're trying to make home run plays against this zone now, and you don't need to do that. There's still plenty of time left in this game. They're down 12, but you can make that up in a hurry in college basketball.
Cincinnati has turned it over 13 times. They average 11 per game, so they're already over their average with 16 minutes to go. Roberts trying a high-low pass. He thought it was deflected out of bounds. So did Jim Boeheim.
Tell you, Barwin did a great job defensively. Syracuse, the last 2 trips, won the quick jack. They could get that anytime, and that one not a good look.
Cincinnati 0 for 4 from the floor in this half. Eric Hicks blocked by Roberts.
A much more active zone in the second half than we saw in the first, and making them go over the top. Keeping it tight.
Muhammad the miss, and then compounded the error by committing the foul. It's another shot from Muhammad from beyond the 3-point arc, almost at the NBA line. Muhammad is 2 for 11 shooting in the game, and you're right, Jay, much more active, particularly inside. 15:54 to go. Second half in New York City, the 'Cuse by 12. Today's game is available in high definition on ESPN HD, presented by Dish Network. Syracuse with a 12-point lead, just under 16 minutes remaining. The winner of this game will play the #1 seed, Connecticut, which shared the regular season Big East Championship with Villanova. Connecticut won the tiebreaker. Next today, Georgetown and Notre Dame. The winner gets Marquette, which grabbed the 4th spot. On the final weekend of the regular season, Seton Hall and Rutgers tonight, Pittsburgh and Louisville, and Villanova and West Virginia awaiting the victors of tonight's doubleheader.
So all Notre Dame has to do to live up to Digger Phelps' billing as the Big East tournament champion is beat Georgetown, then Marquette, then possibly Villanova, and possibly Connecticut, and possibly Villanova.
Well, that's why he came to that decision easily. And how about that little pass catch in? Strong, send it in.
Daryl Watkins has 9. Frequently when Syracuse gets production from that inside duo of Watkins and Roberts, Syracuse is victorious, and today they've combined for 22 points already.
Nice ball movement.
White with a three out of the corner.
You think Terrence Roberts over-pursued that play just a tad? He wound up at half court when the shot was taken.
And how far out he was guarding, and nobody went to the corner. The center man, Watkins, had a cover for him, did not. I think that, look at this. Ooh.
That should have been picked off.
And a travel called. Boeheim 8. He thought Chad Moore bumped Devendorf down.
Well, the foul did cause the walk, and I can't blame him, but the officials just looking the other way in disbelief.
I think Frank Scagliotta was surprised that the pass wasn't picked off and chalked it up as a turnover.
Ooh, almost the hands there.
White, whose three a moment ago, was the first field goal of the half for Cincinnati. Devin Downey has just 2 points. Muhammad has 5. They are combined 3 for 17 from the floor. White tried to force one, deflected out of bounds by Watkins.
And that was a good no call because White was the one that created that contact. That was the principle of verticality. Watkins was entitled to that space.
Pretty active with the traps even on the out of bounds. Nice slip pass, huh? He's been tough the last couple of trips, Downey.
Devin Downey handed it off to Eric Hicks, and Cincinnati back within 9. McNamara, the lob, and the dunk by Terrence Roberts.
He can run and elevate, and this is the McNamara of old.
Syracuse attacking the pressure at the point it's applied. Instead of throwing the ball back and forth, they're just breaking that pressure to score.
White for 3. Cincinnati starting to heat up 6 minutes into the second half. 21 points for the senior James White. Here we go again. McNamara to Watkins this time, who dropped it in.
That pressure's igniting him. He took a shot in the chest too. Oh, he's hurting. Arm, I guess, huh?
Chad Moore came back from back difficulties over the summer. He was convinced he wouldn't be able to play again, but played in the summer league, felt better, and returned to Cincinnati. And they've needed him with the lack of numbers. Devendorf missed a 3. Watkins the offensive rebound.
Well, that shot by Devendorf was made possible by the big guys running the floor and clearing everything out.
Yeah, Nichols did a great job, Jay.
Devendorf wide open, buries that 3. But both teams are heating up. And Cincinnati having trouble getting closer despite the improvement in the shooting of late. Syracuse now 7 out of 14 from beyond the arc. White off for Moore. Muhammad had Nichols run out on him quickly. Muhammad banked it in.
Pretty good runner, huh? Little kiss at the end of it. They've been going left, overload, good ball reversal, and then the zone does not react and cut off the dribble drive.
This little zone look right now for Cincinnati.
Yeah, a little match.
With a little 3-2 zone, matching up out of it.
And this is where the big guys can slip too at some point.
Roberts moved to the bucket, missed a relatively short shot. Devin Downey the push. And the layup up and good for Chad Moore, the senior from Huntsville, Alabama. He has 4.
Now the key for Cincinnati is getting a couple of stops.
Good
McNamara missed a runner. Cincinnati back within 9. Chance to draw nearer. Moore missed the mid-range jumper. Deflected by White to Hicks, and he'll go to the line after a media timeout. The action picking up here in the second half. The foul on Roberts, his 3rd. 11:41 to go. 57-48. Syracuse leading Cincinnati. Cincinnati trying to climb back into the game. They have the deficit down to single digits. Down by 9 as they continue to work against this Syracuse zone.
Well, the difficulty, I think, in the zone is if you don't cover properly. Here's the down and through by White. And you just see out here covering, and I just think they've got to get the baseline guy to get out on him and then rotate back to the line. But that's good, solid basketball. Then they set up a dribble drive as well, Jay, on the other side on ball reversal.
Yeah, you just got to be careful not to go that far up if you're Demetrius Nichols, because Biebendorf could have bumped him off to get back down to the corner. That's too easy of a shot to give up, and it's a long distance to ask Watkins to cover.
The center, yeah, absolutely.
Eric Hicks at the line for Cincinnati. 0 for 4 from the line today. 67% for the year. 12th double-double of the season already. And now he has his first made free throw of the day. It says a prayer of thanksgiving.
I'm not sure there's a player in America that's got a better motor than Eric Hicks. And he has such a high work rate. Sticking with that 3-2 matchup zone. The middle is what is open. He breaks somebody in there, and there it is.
You know, I'm thinking of Joakim Noah having a motor too. One of those guys that plays every little giveaway here on the penetration, plays every minute of the game.
Chad Moore called for the foul, his second, and the second team foul against the Bearcats. Largest Syracuse lead was 14 at 50-36. Cincinnati's narrowed it to 7. And a 5-second call as McNamara couldn't get it in bounds. We're at Madison Square Garden in New York City, hosting the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale for the 24th consecutive year. The entire tournament sold out. And it's game 1 on the first day. Syracuse the 9 seed, Cincinnati the 8 seed. The Orange working with a 7-point lead, but Cincinnati's on the comeback trail and within 5 now as James White rattled one in.
Boy, how big of a possession was that, Bill, to get it down to a 5-point game?
Hey, you know, I just love what they're doing. They're mixing it up. We showed that corner jumper by White, a drive, and then the pop or flash to the lane.
A little 2-3 zone look.
8 straight points for the Bearcats. Nichols lost it over the end line. 17 Orange turnovers. And a timeout called by Jim Boeheim. Big East underway today. The Big Ten tournament gets underway tomorrow. 3 games come your way from Indianapolis. Tomorrow afternoon on ESPN2. Conference powers Michigan State and Michigan trying to avoid upsets, all part of championship week presented by 7-Up. Penn State, a program that is starting to climb back up after a few down years.
Illinois, right?
Ed DeChellis doing a nice job, and Gary Claxton a solid player.
And here's that flash, Jay. Nice solid cut. Just rotating the ball. The 2 top guys are out so far. That's been wide open.
Yeah, anytime you get into the middle and get the ball into the middle, that zone collapses. But a nice job inside by Eric Hicks, almost to screen off Darrell Watkins to keep him from getting over to White.
Cincinnati started slowly. He didn't make a shot from the field in the first 4:40. They've been hot since. White missed with the left. McGowan has another chance and is fouled.
Now, outworking him right now. A little more activity. This is where you get guards have to come down. Anybody, get everybody on the glass.
Second foul on Watkins, the 4th against Syracuse in the half. And Cedric McGowan, the free throw shooter, 73% for the year. 2 points, 2 rebounds for McGowan. He averages 8 and 7 per game for the year.
You know, I'm looking at Cincinnati, Sean. We played them in the early 60s in the Garden. Bonham, Thacker, Yates, Holt, #1 draft pick. The tradition, we always talk about Oscar, they've had some great players.
Well, they had a great player when I was in school, a guy named Roger McClendon, who could really score. And Tony Yates was coaching the team back then.
Backcourt man.
McNamara for 3.
Good ball movement against that zone, getting it into the middle, and then kicking it back out, collapsing it essentially.
4 threes today for McNamara. 388 for his career, 7th in Division I history. Chad Moore a miss. McGowan from the weak side, the dunk.
That's tough to check out, but you got to try. He's got to get down there and stick somebody.
Boy, and that came off just perfect, just on the opposite end.
Oh,
Roberts threw it 1,000 miles an hour, and McNamara could not corral it.
Not sure Terrell Owens could have caught that. See the ball getting into the middle of that zone, and when it does, that collapses the zone, and all of a sudden McGowan, who's playing the bottom side's got to come out and get it. And here, this couldn't have come off more perfect for an offensive rebound.
Well, they are stretching the zone, running different looks. Here's a down and through to the corner, roll the post, dribble drive.
Downey back out to McGowan. He just can't get it to go from out there today. Orange looking to break. McNamara pull up, missed a three.
Boy, why the hurry on that shot?
Good hustle by Nichols to try to run down that loose ball in the corner, but it went out off Syracuse. Bievendorf there as well.
It's a hard way to get it on camera.
So that's where HD really comes in. You get to see Eric Bievendorf up close.
Oh, the grab and maybe, huh?
With HD, I think it's clear that Bievendorf needs a little shave.
He just got called for the foul. Third on the freshman from Bay City, Michigan. With a very solid freshman year. Freshman mistakes from time to time that have made necessary the occasional bit of wisdom dispatched by Coach Boeheim.
You know, all these coaches bring 3 or 4 suits for the Big East. When I was coaching in it, I used to bring 1.
And 3 flasks.
1 for each pocket, huh?
James White. 25 points now, 7 out of 7 from the line. As a team, they're 9 out of 15 from the line. They're the best free throw shooting team ordinarily in the Big East at about 76%.
Boy, this is a porous matchup.
Roberts walked all the way to the basket, but missed the short shot. Nichols kept it alive for a moment. Bievendorf, terrific acrobatic move, and then he was grabbed by Jihad Muhammad.
There's a toughness about Bievendorf. You know, he'll make some mistakes, jack up some shots on occasion, turnover prone, but boy, he's a feisty competitor. This is one of those you got to come up with. Coaches talk about loose balls. It's going to turn the tide for your club, and he certainly gives you some effort.
He gave the foul to Barwin before that reach in by Muhammad. And there's Bievendorf with the lay-in.
The blow-by.
Bievendorf's a right-handed guy that you almost have to play like a lefty. It seems like he drives left more often than he drives right.
He's amphibious, as Bill would say. Bievendorf has 10 points now, his 8th straight game in double figures. In the previous 7, he had at least 13 points. Watkins called for the foul on defense.
Yeah, he can't swim, but he can drive, huh? Put it down with that left. And I asked him early in the year, did he do anything lefty as a kid? Like a lot of good players, he's worked on it. You can get better when you work on it.
Now James White. We talked about Hicks's prospects, perhaps the lack of height a concern, although Eric's tired of hearing about that being an issue as he projects to the next level. What about James White as an NBA prospect?
I think he's got a good future to make a team in the NBA because he's very athletic. He can guard. He's a really good passer, and he's very good in the transition game. And he's proven he can shoot it from the perimeter. I think he can become a better shooter. But he's got a lot of upside, a lot of potential to be a solid player. He can play the 2 and handle it. He can play the 3 and guard. I like him.
He can put it on the deck. Good teammate. A lot of things going in his favor. I just love his length, too, for defensive reasons.
And he's proven he's a worker now.
Whistle away from the ball. McGowan called.
The way that was called, it must have been a little bit overzealous, huh? Frank Scagliotta with a sprint to him. Did you like that when the officials came up and it was you?
I never did. I figured they could let everybody know there was a foul called without identifying me as if I were a murder suspect.
Well, some nights you could have been accused of that.
Bievendorf had it rejected by White. 8 minutes to go. Cincinnati within 2 as Downey hits the runner.
Well, this team has a lot of gumption. Don't they tribute to all of them and Andy and his guys?
They're down by 14. James White has had a huge half, 14 points in this half, 27 for the game. 16-5 run now for UC.
This is where we find out what Syracuse is made of.
And Watkins off the feed from Roberts, and Roberts pumped his fist out of the bench after Watkins scored.
Terrific interior passing, though. They blitzed that pick and roll to give up. Great decision making.
We wondered if Syracuse would be engaged with the way the regular season ended, a team that looked deflated at times late in the year, but emotionally they've been involved in this one from the start.
They've been pretty good. There's still a little up and down nature to the game, but they've been much better in this game, much like they were against Louisville and West Virginia.
White shuffled his feet and got called for the walk. The 15th turnover for Cincinnati. They have battled back. Devin Downey, the all-time leading high school scorer in the state of South Carolina, showing the form that helped him post that record.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of Championship Week is presented by 7-Up. If you want 100% natural lemon and lime flavors, the only way to go is up. And Toyota. Choose any direction as long as it's forward. Toyota, moving forward.
Nice March day in Central Park, but this is the place to be in New York City today. Madison Square Garden. Cincinnati down by 14, back within 3, led by James White. He says the team is a reflection of their coach. He's a battler, as are the Bearcats, but Andy Kennedy says this season has not been about him.
I never really thought this was about me. I'm a part of the equation. My goal and my charge has been to put these kids in a position to be successful on and off the floor. I'm proud that our guys have represented the university and the men's basketball program in the fashion that it deserves to be represented.
They really have. They've played hard all year despite all the controversy, turmoil, the injuries that have reduced the numbers. They've been a credit to the University of Cincinnati with the way they've performed on and off the court.
Well, they've battled, and Andy Kennedy has battled, and there's been a lot of adversity, and they've handled it, they've adapted, and they've overcome, and that's actually been a motto for them, adapt and overcome.
And also, you know, an assistant coach, there's so many guys qualified on benches that don't get opportunities. Here's a guy highly qualified and organized, and right now defensively making some stops and getting themselves right back in this game.
Down by 4, 6.5 to go. Muhammad with Downey, McGowan, Hicks, and White. They've played virtually the entire game. .13 to shoot.
White really stays active too. He's over on the wing right now, but he's terrific analyzing holes and getting to the right spot.
Need a shot, 5 seconds, and the 3 is short from Devin Downey. Syracuse, the numbers on the break. McNamara's pass off the hands of Watkins.
A couple of bad decisions that time. Just fan dribble, get organized, get yourself a good look.
Or take the shot with all those other bodies going to the rim.
Well, really though, getting it back out would have been the right thing to do there. You got a 4-point lead. You didn't really have anything good. Bring it out and make Cincinnati guard you.
Hicks, little jump hook, blocked, but Watkins called for the foul. Jim Boeheim didn't like that call from Curtis Shaw. That's the 4th on Darryl Watkins.
Just a little screen against the middle of the zone. That freed up Hicks to get the ball inside, but Watkins still staying big. Even when you screen him off, he's got the size and the length to bother that shot.
The follow-through nailed him, though.
Hicks misses. And Cincinnati, best free throw shooting team in the league, 10th in the nation at 76% for the year. And Hicks is 2 out of 7. Now 3 out of 8. And the team is 12 for 19. 3-point game, under 6 minutes to go. Both teams 19 and 11. Both considered to be on the bubble. Cincinnati thought to be in better shape with an eye toward the NCAA tournament than Syracuse. Most observers believe Syracuse must win today to be in the field again this year for Jim Boeheim. McNamara played it ahead to Devendorf. Then he laid it in, avoiding the oncoming Cedric McGowan.
Nice job, too. Took his legs away from him.
James White with 27 points. A career high. Hicks fouled before the shot.
You know, if they're able to make these free throws, Jay, I would jump to that half or three-quarter court trap. They've done a nice job. Force the issue. Make it quick. See if you can force them into a quick jack, a turnover, or a bad decision.
Certainly gives them a different look. The problem is the last time they went to that 1-2-2, they got cut up pretty good in it. But if they're more active and a little bit better getting back in it, I would agree with you.
Hicks made the front end of the 1-and-1. And the second. The foul on Nichols, his third. So Watkins is 4. Roberts and Nichols 3 each for Syracuse. Like Cincinnati, the Orange